This is the first time in our history we're going to have a remote lightning talk. Our speaker right now is going to be Scott Stornetta, who is considered by many to be the co-inventor of blockchain and is the most cited researcher in the Bitcoin white paper. Scott's PhD was also the first one in neural networks at Stanford, so he kind of really hits both buckets pretty nicely. He's now a partner and chief scientist at Yugen Partners, and today he's going to tease a product announcement which could be a critical evolution in decentralized identity. And then after Scott, Camille, you will join us at the front. So we'll get it started.
I had really hoped to participate in this conference in person, as it touches on a number of areas that are of interest to me, but the schedules just did not line up. I'm grateful that the organizers have permitted me to make this video in lieu of an appearance, and I hope it can contribute to your own thinking. I recently read about an author named Jane Friedman. Maybe you saw this in the media as well. She publishes widely on Amazon, and one day she discovered that someone else was publishing on Amazon under her same name with apparently AI generated novels. This was very difficult for her. Someone else was playing off of her good name. Someone was masquerading as her. And the fact that it was an AI bot seemed to make it all the worse. It was also very challenging for her to find recourse, as the traditional legal framework and the procedures that were in place really didn't fit well for this problem. Now, I'm a big fan of AI, and I think it's going to bring a lot of benefits. But this situation of identity and the problem of determining who the authentic Jane Friedman is only going to get worse and more prevalent as generative AI continues to flourish. You know, we're not just talking about novels. We'll see photos, we'll see videos, we'll even see false interviews with people. And so this risk of determining one's identity is going to be a big issue, and particularly for these online creatives and social media influencers that run the risk of losing control and finding it difficult to claim their own unique identity. And it's not just emotional stress we're talking about. I mean, this can affect their way of earning a living. And this, of course, touches on this general problem that I've thought about for a long time and investigated as an investor for a long time, of so-called self-sovereign identity and how to get it right. I've read many startup pitches in this space and never quite felt satisfied that they were really grasping all the relevant issues. Most of them rely on some combination of biometrics, or like iris scans or facial recognition, in combination with credentials issued by state and federal agencies. And I think that's all to the good, but I learned something in doing my early work with Stuart on the blockchain, and I'd like to pass it on to you. Namely, we really thought it was important to get the technology right, to get the cryptology right, to get the code right, to get the math right. And it was important, but what we gradually discovered is that it was equally important to see that the technology was properly embedded in the social fabric, and that all the players in the space got the right incentives to continue to make use, in our case, of the blockchain. I've reflected a lot on how identity is actually established, because if you think about it, people have been able to verify their identity for a long time, long before there were biometrics or even governments issuing credentials. In fact, there's two mechanisms that are complementary that have come to play a role in identification or validation of ID for hundreds and maybe thousands of years. The first is what I would call friends and family. Maybe that's what we would call it today. Namely, yes, this woman is who she claims to be because I'm her father, or I'm her sister, or I'm her son, or she's my colleague that I've known for 20 years. And then the second is what I would call the representative body of work of a creator. So I know we've all read the story about someone's going through grandma's dusty old attic and comes across a painting and, gee, it looks an awful lot like a Rembrandt. And so experts are brought in, and what do? They compare the body of work of the known Rembrandts with this in particular, the signatures, the brushstrokes, all of these characteristics. And that allows them to determine whether this questionable piece of work fits within that body of work of the creator or not. It turns out that there's a way that we can use these very time-tested social methods to establish identity and reimagine them in a global, digital, online world. It's a combination of using the fundamentals of blockchain technology with some of the most forward-looking modern cryptographic methods to create a very organic, highly resilient way to establish identity and to assert claims to one's creative output. We don't quite have details that we want to share at this point, but I hope that we can say something later in the fall. I just wanted to get something out in time for the conference. We often react with fear when we encounter some great new technology that has the potential to disrupt society. And it's often with good reason, as disruptive technologies by their nature seem to appear as kind of dark clouds of foreboding on the horizon. But for the Jane Friedmans of the world and other like creatives, there's really something good coming. And if you'll just give me and those of us that are working on this a little more time to get it right, I think you'll see a solution that restores the inherent ability of creatives to flourish in today's social and generative AI setting. And that means that for them and for the rest of us, it's going to be a good day.